How y'all doing?
Okay, so it's been a while. Hi everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome to the video. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, particularly a whole year, and that would be because I've been really busy and I also kind of forgot this channel existed, but it's okay. Um, the script for this video I actually wrote last year in March and I had forgot that I had written it. And so I was going through some of my files today, trying to clear up some storage, and I found this, so I thought might as well just record it. So, we have today's video. So, I want to apologize in advance for any background noises you might be hearing. I did get a new mic, which is super exciting, but I don't really want to sit at my desk, so I'm recording in my chair and I'm holding the mic in my hands. So if you hear any background noises, that's probably why. Okay, so with all that being said, today I'll be talking a little bit about cinematography and visual storytelling and the kinds of stories that I enjoy. And then I'll also be talking about the process of creating this finished illustration that you can see here playing in the background. So, just briefly, this character is one that kind of just spawned in my head. I had no plans or prior thoughts really about creating this character. It actually started off as another original character that I had been thinking of designing. The setting was a forest, the weapon was a branch, so completely different from the end product. Um, I wasn't really feeling that original idea, so I had started it and then abandoned it for a couple weeks. So it wasn't until I came back to it that I kind of just started throwing things down at random. That said, I do like how it turned out though, and I hope to expand on the story and character development and everything. I found the most perfect reference for this pose on Pinterest. I do often take a lot of my reference pictures myself, but for this one, I just stumbled across the reference. So I use this pretty much throughout the process because even the lighting is pretty similar to what I was going for. You'll hear me mention Pinterest over and over again throughout this video. It's just so great for finding inspiration and really nice pictures and references for pretty much anything you want to draw. I'll try to put some of my references up on screen throughout the video, and if you also want to check out some of my collections of pins, definitely check out my Pinterest account. I quite literally have thousands of pins on there. Visually speaking, for this character's design, again, not much thought really went into it. I love drawing curly hair, so I just gave her that. And then I also really like giving characters unique features, so I randomly also decided to give her a bunch of moles, which I think is so cute. Scars, dimples, moles, eye bags, anything. I just love adding those little details to characters. I will say that watching this back, the way in which I drew her hairstyle, in which I drew the curls, is not really the way that I would draw them now. Um, it does look a little odd with the way that I like outlined the shape. Um, I think I have a greater understanding of how to draw curls more accurately now. Um, but I thought it was just interesting watching that back. You might also note coming up here that I changed the weapon. So you can, in the original reference that I showed you earlier, the model in the image is using a knife or some sort of, or not a knife, like a sword, like a katana kind of blade as the weapon. And so in my illustration, I switched the weapon from like a long sword to being a crowbar, and that kind of informed the way I started thinking about the background of the piece. So I kind of started thinking, oh, what if this girl is in a garage and she's in her garage and she needs to pick up a weapon quickly? What might be in your garage that you would be able to find? And maybe she happens to have a crowbar in her garage. So that's kind of how I came up with the idea to switch the weapon in that way. And I think it does add a lot to the storytelling of the piece as well. So the jellyfish on her top, I just thought it would be cute. I saw this picture of, I think, a bleach painted jellyfish design on Pinterest because I was looking at ideas for some graphic tanks and I saw it and I was like, this is the one. So I didn't copy this exact design. I referenced another picture of a jellyfish, but I kind of took that kind of bleached idea from the original picture. I'm a very visually oriented person, of course, as an artist, but also just in my daily life. I'm a visual learner and things like that. And I also love storytelling, and I think art can lend itself a lot to telling a great story. So, for example, think of your favorite film. And honestly, this applies to both live action and animated movies. There's artistry in all of it. But what kinds of things caught your eye? For example, take the 2009 movie Avatar. Whereas maybe the story lacked in some areas, the visuals and world created by the VFX artists were truly stunning and immersive. Or maybe you think of something like La La Land. Does this scene look familiar? The yellow dress, the bluish purple sunset, instantly recognizable. What about literally any Wes Anderson film? A lot of filmmakers like him have really distinct traits that you'll see in a lot of their work. And for Anderson, there's the symmetry, the warm colors, the vintagey aesthetics, and so on. Even Star Wars. Where would Star Wars be without its incredible character and set designs? Even just the color of a lightsaber is enough to tell you what side a character is on. And so it's obvious that films and even TV can rely a lot on visuals, not only for things to just look pretty, but also to lend itself to the story itself. As I've mentioned before, I've been really into cinematography lately, mostly because of creators I follow on Instagram and YouTube. Here are some accounts with really nice work that I follow, and you should totally check them out. And I'm not a film student by any means, but I do enjoy it. When I can, I'll shoot like short little clips with my phone and color grade them all nice and pretty. And so as a result, I've been thinking about how I can apply techniques used in film with composition and color and angles and framing and things like that to my own art to better tell a story, or just self indulgently imagine my characters as if they were in their own movie. So for this piece in particular, I knew I wanted the vibes to be somewhat eerie, almost horror-like. So you can see that the character is holding this crowbar to defend herself from something, and she looks pretty scared. I wanted to go from like a lowerish angle, so it's almost from the perspective of what she's looking at. It makes you wonder where exactly this glow is coming from and from what. And with that, I also wanted to go pretty dramatic with the lighting, which is definitely not something I typically do. But I wanted to challenge myself with this one. So I looked at a couple references of that kind of lighting from below. It's almost the opposite of what I'd usually do. So normally I would have something that's lit from the top. But in this one, the bottom of the nose is lit, but the top of the cheeks are in shadow and so on. This was really difficult. I was just trying to trust the process throughout. And halfway through, I was like, this is not looking good right now, but I'm so glad I pushed through. I was also thinking a lot about what colors I wanted to use and the color grading of the whole thing. So you can see that I did all my like flats and base shading under regular lighting conditions. So pretty much all my colors were at their normal values. So the skin tone is what it would look like under normal lighting, same as the shirt and so on. And then like in film, I did like my post processing and effects and color grading on layers on top of the base colors. So after I checked my values and applied like a noise texture and everything, um, the values of the piece shifted towards a bluish tone, so from slightly warmer to slightly cooler, and things like that. And I added like a vignette to bring attention to the character. I did a lot of adjustment layers and playing around with blending modes. And I think those also contribute a lot to the mood of the piece, so kind of gloomy and mysterious as I was going for. The effects and things like the harsh shadow were actually really fun and outside of my comfort zone. I use Adobe Fresco for my digital stuff, and there's no Gaussian blur tool, unfortunately. So for blurred out backgrounds, I had to figure out how to use the airbrush tool to give a blurry effect. Um, Honestly, in the end, I added so many adjustment layers that you can't really see it that well. But it does the job, and I think it's still visually interesting and the colors mesh well. I know I mentioned I didn't really have any plans for this character when I started drawing. She was just a random person, but I am thinking of maybe creating a bigger story and some more characters to go along with. Because I think this illustration alone has made me really curious as to where I could go with this. I think there's a lot of different directions, so I could go like horror, though I cannot watch horror movies. I feel like creating the story and knowing what's coming is probably better. Um, she's kind of giving like 80s, 90s slasher, like final girl vibes. I could go like crime or mystery or dystopian. But right now, I've been feeling maybe post-apocalyptic. But I don't necessarily want to do like zombies. I think it would be really interesting to look at a time period that is like just leaving normalcy. So, like an event just happened that kind of thrust the world into chaos, and our character is kind of thrown into this completely new environment without really any knowledge and kind of has to figure out things on her own. An inspiration that I've been thinking about a little for this is Parable of the Sower, which is a novel by Octavia E. Butler. And I read this book in high school, but to give a quick summary, it's a post apocalyptic, dystopian type book that was written in the 90s, but it takes place pretty much right now, so in the 2020s. And the main protagonist is sort of navigating an alternate version of America where climate change has gone wild and there's pretty much anarchy and lawlessness everywhere. She has to journey and survive in a world that's gone to chaos and is filled with twists and turns at every step. So, to look at maybe the beginnings of major societal change, maybe not necessarily a complete collapse, but something like that in a similar way could be really interesting. I will say I did really like this illustration in the end. Of course, there are some things that can be improved, but I have a lot of ideas for new things, and I'm excited to hopefully get to explore them. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I was scripting it a year ago, I realized that I didn't actually have that much to talk about, given that this is like a new character and I've been busy with a lot of other stuff. But hey, if you're here, thanks for stopping by and welcome to the channel.